Right now we're at the center of this year's host city of MozFest 2021, Amsterdam, and this place is called Dam Square. And the monument behind me is the national monument that was placed here right after the Second World War to commemorate the casualties that have taken place during this time. It reminds us never to take our freedom for granted, which is something that is completely in line with what MozFest stands for. You should have the freedom to control your own data, and if you don't, you should fight for it. Welcome to today's MozFest studio.
Go.
Welcome back, and good that you're back for the third episode of MozFest Studio. Sadly, we cannot see you in person, but that is why we'd love to hear from your experience on Twitter or on Slack using the hashtag MozFest. So don't forget to do that.
Go.
And here are the important updates for you. So let's party. A cultural party, that is. It's a one-time cross-festival 2-hour-long event filled with performances, cooking, films, music, games, you name it. All virtual, of course. And the cultural party will be hosted on the MozFest Common Space on March 19th, starting from 3:30 p.m. until 6:30 p.m. Central European Time. So you can still sign up to present something from your culture, or you could register to be in the audience. So look for the sign-up link on the MozFest schedule. On another note, since all participants are watching from all over the world, we're very curious to see what your area looks like. So we would love it if you could share this with us in a short video showing an iconic spot near where you live. So maybe you're watching from a place near the Eiffel Tower, that would be very cool. Or you could show us the beautiful scenery from your balcony. Or it could look something like this.
Hi guys, I'm joining MozFest this year from Stockholm.
So go outside with the MozFest flag and show us around, and then share the video on Slack and on the Miro board. Looking forward to see where you guys are from.
Go.
And since we saw you last, a lot has happened here at MozFest. So let me highlight a few of the interesting MozFest sessions that you might have missed. One space that we haven't talked about much in our show so far is the sustainability space. And yesterday they discussed the role of tech in human rights and the future of the climate. And the recording of this discussion will be available on demand soon. Another session that happened yesterday and that really spoke to me is the session in the space openness, where they discussed how to open up when it comes to gender inequality. And to talk some more on how data can be used to solve this problem, we've invited Marisa Miodowski, who facilitated this session, and Caleb Kibet, who is a wrangler of the space openness. Hello guys, lovely to see your faces. Marisa, I think most people have heard about the pay gap between men and women, but you now have new data to support these claims. So how did you acquire this data?
Hello to the audience. Well, I work for the Buenos Aires city government, and I am very proud to say that in our government, we produce this data. We collect the data through household surveys and through surveys that we do to companies to the labor market. We collect the information and we produce the indicators. We calculate this gap with these sources of information. The interesting thing is that this is official information, and that is available to anyone who would like to see it, to analyze it, and to use it for any purpose. In our case, we use it for making decisions, to understand how the gap is produced and we design in order to tackle it.
Okay, and how did the participants, maybe this is a question for you, Caleb, how did the participants, the women and the men, react to this data?
The reaction from the participants was we were concerned, and majority of the participants were concerned and actually concerned by and alarmed by the data, especially talking about over 70% disparity in some of the regions. And they actually accepted and agree with the data, and they see the need to change the status quo. That was the impact of the presentation of the session had.
Nice. So now we have really hard evidence for people to act on. Marissa, you're saying you're going to use this information to do something about it. What is something that you could use the data for? Like, how are you going to implement it?
We are already using the data. First of all, we publish the data in a portal that we call the Gender Indicator System, where you can see not only the gender pay gap, but another set of indicators that gives you an integral picture about the situation for women and for men, not only in the labor market, but also in other axes. For example, in decision-making positions, in situations regarding to violence, either in the labor market or in the domestic sphere. Mm-hmm. So with all that information, you have a comprehensive picture about the situation. With that information, then we analyze it and we start to understand what are the causes that make this difference between what women make relative to what men make. And we use this information in order to pass regulations, in order to refocus certain interventions. Just to give you an example, we understood that part of the pay gap was driven by the time that women also allocate for caring-related tasks. So with that information, we passed a law for Buenos Aires City in order to increase the leave that men can take when they have kids, and this was kind of a compensation relative to what women were having. Because what the law was saying before is that it is the women's responsibility to take care of children that are born, because they had 90 days and men only had 10.
Wow, yeah, I understand. So you're actually making law with this new data. That's very cool. And Caleb, one question I have to ask you, because you are a man. Would you give up your Wrangler position if it would go to a suitable women candidate?
Absolutely. I think the intention of wrangling is to deliver the best Mozilla Festival experience. And if that's going to happen by me giving up the seat, that would be absolutely perfect. But I think that's not usually the reason. The main thing is the lack, the inequality that exists. And as she has highlighted already, women are already naturally disadvantaged. So there's always a need for affirmative actions to make sure that we have a level playing field. So that would be my response with regard to that. And absolutely, I would.
Okay, nice. Well, that's the right answer, I think. And thank you guys for shedding some more light on this topic. We hope to see more of you guys in the future. Time to get social, because we're very pleased to see you guys are using the hashtag MozFest. And there were definitely some tweets that caught our eye today, like this one from Frank, who is really happy, just like us, about the amount of participants this year. Over 6,000, which is crazy because when MozFest was held in real life, the amount of participants was around 2,000. So that's very good. And then this one by Erica. She's embracing her neuro-nerdiness, and she made a very cool collage to summarize her day. So nice work, Erica. We love to see all this creativity. And Paul shared a lovely Zoom group photo of his session. Looks very gezellig, Paul, as we would say here in Dutch. That means something like cozy, cute. But good to see you finding ways to still connect with each other. And it was also quite the busy day on Slack. There we heard from Chris, who is looking for team captains and non-player characters for the simulation game called The Future of Money. So if you're still free this Friday or next week when the sessions take place, hit Chris up. And of course, if you have any pictures or videos from your sessions and you would like to share them with the world, make sure to post them on Twitter or Slack using the hashtag MozFest, and then they might end up here at MozFest Studio.
Go.
Do you ever feel like you're being watched? Well, I'm sure you're not the only one, because we're all constantly under surveillance through cameras, Wi-Fi tracking, you name it. But there is something you can do about that, and that is what Mozilla fellow and PhD candidate at the Data Justice Lab, Fieke Jansen, is trying to teach us.
Do you know when and by whom you are being followed? You might think you know, but it's not always that obvious. Fieke, why are we at this place, and what is the link with this place and artificial intelligence? Because I don't really see it.
We are on the marineterrein, which is the old Navy terrain in the city of Amsterdam, in the city center. This marineterrein is one of these locations in Amsterdam that has been labeled as a testing area. They are testing things that goes from, they call it crowd management system, so counting how many people are there in a specific location. But I think the interesting thing about your question is it's not really visible. You can't see it. So you can only see small little traces, like 3 cameras hanging in a public space, but that's it. And it's sort of been normalized because we're so used to security cameras hanging there, so we don't realize it's being used for other things.
Is it a problem that we're being surveillanced? Is it something that we should be scared of?
I think it's about how far do we want people, how intrusive do we want these technologies to be? And I think that should be a conversation. And sort of, for me, it's really clear that I don't want this. Because for instance, for example, Wi-Fi tracking, if you ask, do you think it's problematic that Wi-Fi tracking happens at Central Station, for instance?
Yeah.
And then they say, well, it's a security risk. So of course, like for security, we're willing to give up some of our privacy, which is, this is of course a very natural balancing act. But then say this data is not used for security, but it's used to sort of actually calculate how much money, like how many visitors the supermarket at Central Station gets to determine the rent price, then all of a sudden it becomes a different conversation.
And what about your project? Because you also have a project on this space, right?
We created these low-tech canvas against high-tech surveillance, and it's around facial recognition, thermal imaging, and Wi-Fi tracking, which all happens in certain spaces. And it's really about being an explorer in your own city, having small little exercises, going out, looking for cameras, looking for signs that sort of showcase whether or not this is happening.
So with your canvases, you're just trying to raise the awareness so that people start thinking for themselves, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, and start the conversation about what is it that we want, and what is it that we don't want, and what is it that we actually don't know and we want to sort of figure out more about.
If watching that leaves you wanting more, Fieke is hosting a session tomorrow and co-hosting a few sessions next week, so look out for her name on the schedule.
Go.
Do you recognize that feeling when you're scrolling through the MozFest schedule and you see so many sessions that you want to attend, but you only have 24 hours in a day? Well, we have invited facilitator Becca Ricks to help you choose. Yay, Becca, welcome to the show. What will your session be about?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so we have an amazing discussion that's happening in about 45 minutes as part of our MozFest Dialogue and Debate series. It's going to be a panel that's looking at the intersections of labor justice and AI and tech. So thinking about the ways in which internet platforms and complex AI systems have created this new ecosystem of on-demand, app-facilitated services, things like Uber drivers, Amazon Turk workers, people who do gig work through Fiverr, Instacart, DoorDash, and lots of other apps. So we'll be talking a little bit about work that's precarious and temporary and the people who perform that work.
Aha, nice, because I was reading a little bit the summary and I was thinking, are we talking about labor rights for algorithms? That sounds a bit silly to me, but do algorithms need labor rights? Or is it for the people working?
No, so we're talking, it's for the people. Yeah, so a lot of what we call AI is really powered by like thousands of people doing labor. So for example, to build a machine learning system, you have lots of workers who are involved in labeling those data sets, training the data, and usually they're using platforms and not getting paid very much. And also our laws don't really reflect, you know, the gig economy. So a lot of what we call AI is really powered by people and workers.
Nice. If people want to learn more about this subject after MozFest is over, what can they do?
Well, so I would definitely recommend that they check out the work of our 3 panelists. So our panelists will be Dr. Lily Irani, who's a professor at UC San Diego. We also have Sherry Stanley, who's a lead organizer at a project called Turkopticon, which is a tool that helps Amazon Mechanical Turk workers talk to one another. So check out that work. And then finally, we'll also be hearing from Rita Qaudry, who's a PhD candidate at MIT, who looks at the global south and how Uber and Lyft drivers are working down there.
Nice.
I would also recommend, there's a really good book called Ghost Work by Mary L. Gray and Siddharth Suri. That's about a lot of this. So if you're interested in reading more, that's a great place to start.
Cool, thank you for the tips, and it sounds like a very interesting panel. Thank you so much for your time, and again, your session is starting in 45 minutes, so if people want to sign up for that, they still can. Have fun, and enjoy the rest of your MozFest. Bye, Becca. And remember, guys, whenever you have questions, do not hesitate to ask our help desk. You can find them on our community Slack channel with the hashtag help. They're always happy to help you. So do that. And also, if you haven't done so, sign up on Slack via this link, mozillafestival.org/Slack. That's it for today. Hope you tune in again tomorrow. Bye.
Go.